here to ask Officer Midiros what we can and can't do on social media.
How does the police department help protect students from others on social media or even with kids texting inappropriate things?
The best way that we can help prevent kids abusing or getting in trouble with social media is to educate them. Education is always going to be the number one thing that we try to do, just like we're doing today, by putting out the message of, technology is really cool and it's really nice to have, but technology has gotten a lot of people in trouble too. So what we want to do is educate people with technology, phones, MacBooks, anything like that, any kind of device, electronic device where you can send messages, pictures. We want to educate what is the proper use of using that technology, and if you do not, what can happen to you, what are the consequences for not using that technology, that device in an appropriate way.
When does the police department become involved in cyberbullying or other social media situations?
We get involved, obviously, when somebody comes to us with a concern. All right, somebody comes up to us and says, hey, somebody, for example, somebody has sent some inappropriate messages that has made me feel uncomfortable. It may be threatening in manner to them. So that's when we get involved. We investigate it, and we determine then at that point if is it a crime, or is it just a school offense, or do we have a criminal offense where it's a violation of Kansas state statutes. So there's a lot of investigation to do, a lot of work to do, and a lot of talking to the parties involved. The person sending it and the person receiving it, maybe, how do they feel about that? And if it becomes where it's more of a harassing, and somebody feels like they're being harassed and it won't stop and it's continued and it's ongoing, that becomes an issue. That's usually when it comes to our to the police department, is when it just continues and the person feels like it's harassing or threatening in manner.
What does the police department do when there's been a report of cyberbullying?
Like I said, the thing that we need to do the best job at, and hopefully we are, is start investigating it and to determine the source of where it came from, who all's involved, and then at that point, after a complete investigation, that's when we again determine, do we just have a school violation? Do we just need an education time with some kids? Or have we actually violated a law? Here's one of the most important things to remember when we're talking about sending messages, when we talk to both parties involved, the sender and the receiver, is you need to remember this. It's not what your intent was as a sender. It doesn't matter what your intent was. The courts, the police department, we look at how it was perceived. And we do that from administration, from the principals to law enforcement. We always look at how it is perceived. We get a lot of students in going, I didn't mean, the senders are like, I didn't mean it to be like that. I didn't mean that to hurt somebody. I didn't mean to offend somebody. But what we try to get across is it doesn't matter. It's how it's perceived. And if the perception of the receiver of that message, or who's included in that message, if they perceive it for being uncomfortable, threatening, harassing, that's when it's going to become a bigger issue as far as committing a crime, and we'll be looking at charging you with a crime of like harassment by telecommunication device, or even threatening, when we look at criminal threats. So those are things that we do when we investigate those.
What are some of the common cyberbullying or social media incidents at Hawker Grove when the police department has or had to be involved?
I think in middle school in general, and here at Hawker Grove, what we see is just kind of the more harassing messages, to a point where somebody is feeling uncomfortable, they feel like they've been made fun of, and what they term it as to be bullying, because it's ongoing. People are coming up, they're laughing at them, they're hurt by it. So those are probably the more common ones, to include not only inappropriate messaging, and that covers a wide span of stuff, but it may be some inappropriate pictures too in the same thing. All that encompasses is how does it make a person feel. So we see a lot of that, and we have dealt with a few of threats. Somebody has felt threatened to the fact that they feel like their life is in jeopardy, or they, somebody was going to commit harm to them. So those are the most common things. More of the common is, again, the not threatening, but the inappropriate messaging that is just hurtful, inappropriate, makes somebody feel uncomfortable and don't want to come to school. I mean, people will come to us and they don't want to come to school because of messages that have been sent to them or that is going around the school. And so for us to deal with that, we have to try to squash that pretty quickly. And then there's the threatening. We have had some issues with people posting videos of fights or something. That will get you in trouble too, because that is a disruption to the school day. If you share that on social media and you're promoting that kind of activity, that is something you want to refrain from too. And those are issues that we've dealt with. And then we look into it to see, is it just a school matter or have we violated somebody's rights? A criminal law. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hashtag be safe.
Hashtag don't be a bystander.
Hashtag Officer Midiros.
Hashtag be smart.
Hashtag Jack.
Hashtag Eagle Hour videos.
Hashtag Hopper Great.
Hashtag 5th hour.
Thanks for tuning in, and hashtag make good choices.
Ooh.